Hello, my name is Ben,
And my name is Aunt Norah.
and we are the hosts of the Too Vague podcast this week. How are you doing, Nora?
I'm doing just fine, Ben.
Excellent. Are you all studied up on the word?
Yeah, yes. I got, I go over it
Yeah.
and go over it, and it's like I understand a minor bit about it.
I think that's why we're kind of doing and exploring this, because it's an interesting sort of concept that we both have a limited amount of knowledge about. The word today is fungible. When did you first hear the word fungible? Do you recall? Because for me, it just seems like when they started talking about NFTs is when I heard the word fungible.
When you first mentioned it to me, it sounded like it had been something I had heard of before, but it is possible that that was the first time I heard it.
It hasn't been in use very long, the word fungible, according to the Google machine. It's mostly
Hmm,
used in legal speak and legal
right.
terms, first used in the 17th century and derived from medieval Latin. An adjective meaning able to replace or be replaced by another identical item or mutually interchangeable. Thoughts? Like, what do you think of when
Well,
you think of the word fungible?
boy, I wish I had a bag of fungins right now.
Funyuns,
Yeah, that would be fungible. Um,
fungions.
uh,
I think of actually something similar. I think of Lunchables.
oh yeah,
Do you recall Lunchables?
oh yeah,
You're familiar with charcuterie.
oh yes,
Yes.
yeah.
So with charcuterie, I mean that's the thing. It's hard not to say that Lunchables didn't have some sort of origin in charcuterie sort of boards, but charcuterie is actually a custom that comes from 15th century France, which is meat cured and sliced and served. But
Mhm.
Italian meats are also similarly done in that way. Charcuterie is a French term, but it's practiced mostly in Italy, right?
Um,
Is that your
I
understanding?
don't know. It's very popular here
Yeah, it's
right now,
yeah, it's also very
but
popular amongst the millennials for some reason. They got all charcuterie crazy,
oh,
from what I heard. I mean, I don't
okay.
know. They like the
Well,
charcuterie,
I mean, I'll put out cheese and salami and stuff when people come over,
right?
and crackers and olives and stuff like that. It's probably a charcuterie board,
Uh huh.
just like everybody else's, except for me, it's like, here's some cheese and crackers,
Right,
you know.
right. At its core, isn't that all it is? Is cheese and cracker? I mean, it's other stuff too, right? You can put all
Right,
sorts of
right,
things
right.
on it. It's just an assortment of
Uh,
snack,
it's got to have meat.
right? As long as it
That's
has
it. Meat.
meat and
Yeah,
cheese is optional. Meat and bread,
I
right?
think so. Something, yeah, some bread type. Also, I think it's good to have something like olives
Yeah.
or grapes,
Mm,
to give a little moisture or something to the dry salami and stuff.
yeah.
But I love the way you have Lunchables and charcuterie intertwined.
Well,
Uh,
that's the reason I have it intertwined like that is because it's sort of it's a mini. I mean, that's the thing. I mean,
it
okay, so
is.
here's a brief history of Lunchables for you. Okay,
Okay.
Kraft Heinz in Chicago, Illinois, marketed under the Oscar Mayer brand. This is kind of interesting. It was introduced in Seattle in 1988, but later released to
Oh,
everyone else a year later. So Seattle apparently was the test market for Lunchables.
huh.
Tom Bailey, I'm guessing of Oscar Mayer, came up with the product known as Lunchables, and then there was a four-person team that did all sorts of testing and focus groups and stuff. This was
Yeah.
during the time of the concept of a latchkey kid,
Oh, yeah. Yes.
about your mom, your parents working, and that is kind of where sort of this idea of Lunchables sprung from.
Uh,
One of the guys was doing Bob Drain, one of the four-person team that created Lunchables, discovered that the primary concern of mothers, of working mothers especially, was the time it took to prepare breakfast and get prepared for their work
yeah.
day and lunch and everything for school. although it was a way for Oscar Mayer to get rid of a bunch of their lunch meat. It was also, that
What do
was
we
kind of,
know?
and it also, the design of the Lunchables, how it's got the little compartments.
Yeah.
They say that was fashioned after the TV dinner, the American TV dinner.
Really?
Which kind of makes sense if you think about it.
I guess. I think of it more as a bento box.
Yeah, it could be a bento box too. I agree. I
Yeah.
mean, how else would you package cheese and
Yeah,
crackers? I mean, you could do it like
right.
in a tube, I
Ugh.
guess.
Good product for what it was used for. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. There were some, like any other product, like McDonald's went through this and other companies where it's like, is it really healthy? And they did some, as these things developed, they started putting, like more sweet things in it, and they
Right.
discovered the fat content was raised to a
Right.
point where it wasn't good for children or whatever. But
Right. Right.
so yeah, there are always those things with these new products, and like I said, it was 1989. That's, oh boy,
Yeah.
1989.
When I worked in advertising, part of craft was one of our my clients,
Uh-huh.
also Oscar Mayer.
Yeah.
Oscar Mayer was, but at that time, we were still doing bologna.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it was regular products. They didn't.
Right. This was in the
Definitely.
70s. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Because I mean, around the 80s, I think it was a little bit after the 80s, maybe into the 90s. Oscar Mayer and Kraft went into the same
Yeah.
company, right? So they kind
Yeah.
of combined, which is
Yes.
another.
And some others.
Yeah, exactly. So here we go. The term Lunchables.
Yeah.
I read this Wikipedia article where it said, here were the possible names for the prepackaged meal. I don't know how accurate this is because it is Wikipedia.
Right.
But some of the names that they had were on trays,
Oh.
cracker witches, mini meals,
Oh.
lunch kits. Like, why would you buy a thing called lunch kits? It seems so clinical, doesn't it?
Yeah. It does. It does.
Snackables, of course, that seems pretty
Yeah.
close. Square
Right.
meals, walk meals, go packs, and my favorite, fun meals with a MEALZ. They put the Z at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Fun meals.
So what would you have called Lunchables? Being the former advertising
Please.
person of
Yeah, I worked in numbers.
yeah, but every once in a while you get a
Yeah.
break. If you come up with this
This is true.
You
This
come
is
up
true,
with
and
this
I was
name.
asked a few times.
Yeah, if you come up with this name, man, and you are going to be rich beyond your wildest dreams. What
Well,
name
no,
would you do
because
for?
the ad agency sucks up your you don't get any
Okay,
credit.
okay. Be that as it may, this is all fantasy anyway. I'm just trying
I
to
know,
I'm
I
just
know.
trying to get you motivated to come up. Like, what would you call that?
I have no idea.
Okay,
Little lunch, little lunch.
I would have called
I
it
don't know.
Charcuter-Easy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
except that I wonder when did the word charcuterie start to become common
Um,
in our
15th
time?
century.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know about us. I know it's 15th century France is when they started using it over there, but I don't know when it migrated over here being used.
I'm thinking just like 20 years,
Yeah. You think
just in
so?
the 2000s.
Huh.
It was when it became popular
Right.
with us lowly folk. And you may have gone to a French restaurant or an Italian restaurant, and they may have had that,
Right.
but it's not something that most people would serve. I mean, they like I said, when I have my cheese and cracker, it's like and salami. It's I never called it anything, but here's some
Cheese and
appetizers.
crackers. Right.
Yeah, right.
Hors d'oeuvres.
Hors d'oeuvres, yes.
Hors d'oeuvres.
And
So you don't like charcuterie-easy
no, I do.
or charcuterific?
Oh, that's even better. Except that was kind of overused. But if you did that one first,
Yeah,
I mean, that
exactly.
was in the
It would be in the
Charcuterific,
charcuterific. So looks like I get the high end job at the ad agency for Oscar
Yeah.
Mayer.
Yeah,
because you have no
definitely.
entry, unfortunately. Lunch
No.
things.
I wonder why they never used my ID. I was asked a couple times, what do you think?
Edible stuff.
Yeah, right.
Anyway,
Oh dear.
food nuggets.
If you're lucky, yeah.
What does this have to do with fungible? Absolutely nothing.
Uh,
It's just what I think of
oh,
when I think of fungible. Although, I guess the foodstuffs in a Lunchable
yes.
would be fungible because they can be
It
replaced by something of equal or
yes, mutually interchangeable.
right.
Um, and I don't know if that would mean can you change salami for bologna,
No,
or you have to exchange bologna for bologna.
well, it depends on whether or not. I mean, like I would say you'd have to do bologna for bologna unless there is an exchange rate
Yeah.
on lunch meat where it's
Oh,
like I can
yeah,
give
you're
you,
right.
I can give you two bologna and that equals a salami or
Yeah.
whatever. But I would say,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's
probably true. Commodities.
yeah, commodities. Those are also I would also say those are fungible.
Yes, they certainly are.
Anything that has can be replaced by something equivalent, right? Interchangeably equivalent. Maybe
Yes.
that's just the way to say it. Interchangeably equivalent.
Yeah, they have used another identical item in many of the definitions. However, I really don't think it has to be identical anymore. I think it's interchangeable,
Right,
mutually
right.
interchangeable. Yeah, is how it's
Which is kind of where I was going with it. Equivalent
right,
because it's not necessarily equal.
right, right, right.
Um, but yeah, as far as, like most currencies are fungible, even cryptocurrency in its
Yes,
basest form, you could call it fungible, although there is a
yeah.
digital sort of signature on cryptocurrency as well. But how much research have you done on the cryptocurrency? Because I knew very little about it before I heard the
Right,
term NFT
right.
spoken about on What's Good Games, this video games
Oh, yes,
podcast. Yeah.
yes.
And they were talking about how Ubisoft is experimenting an NFT
Ooh,
marketplace kind of thing where you would get
oh, yes.
various in-game items that were unique.
Okay.
But anyway, in doing
Um,
so,
we're talking cryptocurrency, yes? I understand that cryptocurrency has value
right.
and that you don't have it in your hand,
Hmm.
but you can use it to get something in your hand,
Right.
I believe. My question um, is it backed? What are they backed by? What are the currencies backed by? Like ours
Yeah,
were supposed to be gold and silver,
correct.
which isn't the case anymore,
It,
but
yeah, it is fiat money. It's theoretically it's fiat money. Fiat money is government issued currency that's not backed by a physical commodity. Our currency, US
okay,
currency used to be backed by gold, but that
right,
stopped, right? So
right.
now it's fiat money, and most money is for countries. So there is really,
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
right.
so what's actually backing it is not it's not anything specific. It's just the code. It's just the blockchain. It's just the data stored on it, right?
Yeah,
There's nothing really backing it per se. It's just whether it's how
it's
much.
strange.
Yeah, it is kind of a strange thing because it's very new. It's a new sort of
It
thing.
it's very new, and I'm not. And and that it takes a while to adjust to some things. I
Right,
know it exists. I know people talk about it all the time.
right.
Um, I if somebody wanted me to invest in it, it would be like, what?
Yeah,
Put money into nothing? Huh?
right.
Um, do you know what it reminds me of, though?
What?
The way I feel about it, my dad, your grandfather,
Mm-hmm.
coming from the Depression and before, he wanted to pay cash for everything.
Right.
He did not want to get a checking account. It was um, I was, yeah, I was probably grown up in college or something when he got a checking account. So I was maybe 20 and I'm the youngest kid.
Right.
And he only did it because mom forced him to.
Right.
Same thing with a credit card.
Okay.
Mom wanted one, but at that time, it had to be in Dad's name.
Oh,
Man,
yeah, that's
and it's like Dad didn't like the idea of money not in his hand,
right.
which I mean, I kind of understand,
Yeah, I
but
think,
that's kind of, I think that's how I think about the cryptocurrencies.
yeah, and I think you can not even when it comes to currency. I think a lot of people, I'm going to dip into gaming a little bit, but people want the thing,
Surprise.
right? People want
Yeah,
the physical copy of the game. They don't want a digital license that says, okay, you have access to this content, install it on your system. A lot of
yeah,
people from the older days of video games, even some people currently, they just want the physical thing, even though it needs to be registered and licensed and
yeah.
like anything else. But it's something about having the thing, and maybe that's similar to the money part. um
Yeah.
wasn't there a part of distrust in the banks? Wasn't there some sort of financial,
Um,
there were some
there
financial
was.
crises that probably sowed a little bit of distrust in the
Well,
banking institution.
he didn't he didn't stick his money under the mattress. I mean, he put his money in banks, but it was like in 1929 when the stock market fell at that time that started the depression. Actually,
Right.
people went to their bank to get money out, and doggone it, there
Wasn't
was no
there.
money there.
Right.
And so a lot of people during the 30s and probably carried on to the 40s and stuff didn't trust banks.
Right.
And for some reason, Dad was okay. Maybe that, oh, I don't know, what's that thing that FSDA, whatever, I don't know what it is, but it guarantees your money up to a
Oh
certain
yeah,
amount.
yeah, yeah. The insured, it's federally insured now.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
your
I
funds are.
probably just talked about meat or something. What
Yeah.
kind of meat? Choice.
So yeah,
But
it's yeah, it's USDA, grade A
yes, yes,
money.
yes.
Yeah.
Money.
No,
Yeah.
but it is sort of, yeah, it's one of those, it's federally insured. And I think with the complexity that's risen out of a lot of those crises, one of the
Yeah.
problems, it's become too complex for people to understand. I think I talked to you about this
Yes.
show that I saw, The Problem with Jon Stewart, which
Yeah.
there is no comma there. I think Jon Stewart needs to invest in a comma, maybe. But anyway, the problem with Jon Stewart, the show, and it has different like high level sort of topics, very similar to our show, except
Oh, yeah.
we like to keep it light in general, keep it on the
Hmm.
let's investigate, let's not assume we know everything about whatever subject it is. But Jon Stewart, as a comedian and also as a a news personality, for the lack of a better
Right.
word, from his
The-
previous
In
days,
UK, they call them presenters.
presenters.
They're not exactly newsmen. I mean,
Yeah. Well, he
in a
had,
way they are, but they're presenting.
yeah, he did. I mean, that's the thing. He did have the Daily Show, and the Daily Show was
Right.
sort of, kind of comedy slash political commentary.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and I've listened to some of his stuff. I'm a big fan of Jon Stewart as far as in general, his commentary. I don't always agree with him. I don't always agree with where he takes something, but
Ah.
it's just kind of like he does a lot of thinking about it, and he's very politically minded, and to some extent,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
good. He did a show on the problem with the stock market, and what they did was
Ah.
they talked primarily how convoluted the system is and how people do short sales, and they they do things that
Hmm.
they try and they're betting on the stock failing. And when this group of people who went on the boards, who organized this thing
Hmm.
through Robinhood to all inflate the price of GameStop
Uh,
stock. Do you remember when that happened a couple of years
I
ago?
remember you talking about it.
Yeah. Under normal circumstances where if businesses were to do this, it would be
Yes.
inflating the stock price. My
Yes.
understanding is it's done exactly the same way. John on his show basically said, well, they've exposed this big, this big problem. It's a
Yeah.
complexity, but every system is going to have ways you can game it. What is the benefit to people?
Yeah.
I think the benefit is people would understand their investments. However, if people understand their investments, what are the accountants doing? There's a balancing act
Right.
there. What do you think about the stock market? Is it something...
I'm
Okay.
laughing because, I've spoken to you before about how much I love economics in college.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Even the second time I took it,
Right.
it was,
I mean, when, like I said, offline, we've had this discussion, and the discussion
yeah,
basically is, for me, microeconomics was always like, okay, so this happens if all other things are equal. And everyone said, oh, it's going to get interesting in macroeconomics. And it just didn't. I do have a little bit of knowledge as far as taxes, as far as, accounting, because of previous jobs that I had
yeah,
where I had to have a little bit of knowledge in all these areas. I know
right,
what a balance,
correct,
I know what a balance sheet
right,
is. I know what a profit and loss is. And I know how important investing in your future is, especially with people of your generation starting to retire, the baby boomers,
hmm
and how
right,
the pool of money, which apparently doesn't matter, doesn't matter anymore
yeah,
because I don't know what our deficit is. Anyway, I don't want to get too
oh,
political,
right,
but what I'm saying, what
right,
I'm saying is, I understand a couple of basic principles. Anything based in math, right? Anything, still the
yeah,
thing as far as
well,
capital gains issues and things like that, how they formulate that kind of stuff is a little tricky for me, but it's based in math, so I kind of get it. I get percentages.
yeah.
I get
Well,
interest.
of course, I get percentages,
Right.
I get interest. I
But
mean, I understand it.
but
I
but do you go to horse races?
not unless I'm dragged there by someone else.
Okay. Or at the casino.
Yeah, I played machines. I haven't done that for ages, but I
Okay.
play against whatever algorithm
The
the
machine is
people,
on.
Valley or whoever, yeah,
Yeah.
put in.
What are your thoughts on the stock market, a gambling tool or a problem that could lead to gambling? Do you have any
Well,
thoughts on that as far as the stock market
yeah,
is concerned?
I think that you need to know what you're doing yourself or find somebody that you trust
Hmm.
who can help you with your investments.
Right.
I think for a while there, I don't know if it's still happening, but for a while people were trying their own uh, investing for whatever reason, maybe like the horse races. Oh, that's a nice name. I think
Right.
I'll invest in that one.
Right. Well, I mean,
That kind of thing.
yeah, that's sort of what this program that people use mostly to do the whole inflating the price of GameStop stock was called Robinhood, which has a little bit of irony to it, I guess.
Yes.
But
Yeah, right.
Robinhood,
Steal
it's
from the
basically
poor.
the way yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like
Sorry.
they don't give to the poor. They just basically
No.
take from the poor. People who think that they can play the stock market and, watch it every day. People who do work in the stock market professionally, they watch
Yeah.
factors. They have some knowledge about how, extraneous sort of factors can impact the value of their stock, or certain companies, making sure that, like you read the news on whether there's some sort of a crisis that they're dealing with that may affect the price. But
Right.
but in
Right.
general, I mean, it's a matter of balancing your long-term and short-term investments. It's not a thing where you play it every day to get rich, right?
Right.
You
Right.
don't
Right.
have to do that. You just have to be aware. And I think what something like Robinhood does is makes it so accessible to people who
Mm,
don't regularly do this as a job, and
yeah.
sort of promises, like gives you the hope that you can possibly win the stock market, right? Kind of like a gambling
Yeah.
app.
Yeah.
And I think that's incorrect.
Right. But I mean, not everybody does that. And what a lot of people, especially boomers, and generation, what are you, X?
Yes.
Xers better start thinking of this too, is you don't put all your money into a high risk
Right. You diversify.
account.
Yeah.
Yeah, you diversify. And as you get older, you find that you're taking less money out of your risky accounts. I mean,
Right.
taking more money out
Yes.
and putting it into the more sure. So far, I don't think I have anything it just sits there. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
yes, you're always going to get 1.75%.
Right.
There's
Money,
always going to be some
like,
little risk.
right, like money market or something. But I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
when you do that, it's very lower percentages, right? Whereas if you have a professional person or company handling your stocks and
Yeah.
handling your portfolio for general stocks or for a 401k, you kind of, you're kind of banking on them knowing how to
Yes.
manipulate the system. And I think that's
Yes.
part of the thing is, there's a problem with the complexity of the system, but the thing is it's also designed to work this way, and it benefits people. It benefits, not just people who are,
Yeah.
who are rich, but people who are saving up for retirement. And
As long as you get the correct person to help you.
right, right.
And I think there are enough honest financial advisors
Right.
out there,
Yeah.
that do a little research.
Yeah.
You'll be all right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Either that or a bigger
yeah.
company, but that's the thing too with banks. It's
Right.
like,
Well, my financial advisor, quote, invests in different companies. I mean, I
right.
have a couple of different accounts I'm in,
Yeah.
but then the people there invest in different
Yeah.
options, I guess.
Right. It's a diverse, it's diversity in your portfolio is essentially what it is. When people say you want a
Right,
diverse
right,
portfolio, you want an assortment. You don't want to
right.
do what,
Risk
like,
it all,
right, right. Although, you're
or put
less likely,
$50,000 in, and
yeah,
yeah,
you're less likely to make short-term big money, but long-term, it's a better proposition. That's the thing. It's like the stock market at its core has a gambling element, but it's not just
agreed.
short term. And I think when you have more accessibility to the market, people get the idea that you can win the stock market, which is,
Right.
it's like predicting the weather. It's like anything else.
Exactly, exactly. You don't know what's going to happen. No
Right.
matter how much you know, there's always that little bit of
There's an X factor. There's something
yeah,
there that doesn't always, you don't always consider.
yeah,
Perhaps maybe a war breaking out.
yeah.
Or maybe,
Even though I'm sure people in the know knew that war was going to break out some time ago.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, anyway, let's not go there.
Yeah.
Let's not go there.
We don't want to get too
Because I'll just-
political.
No,
Um,
because it pisses me off. But how much more are we going to talk about economics? Let me tell you what I learned in economics.
okay. Give me your top 3 economic
Top
lessons.
2.
Oh, you only have
Top
2?
2. Yeah, I had the supply and demand pretty well too. Supply and demand, and there was another one that went with that. But basically, I learned that when you talk about gross income,
Right.
is what most people know of. It's the big one. Gross is big
Right.
in French, right? And net is the smaller one. Net is what happens when all of the little parts fall through the net,
Okay.
like taxes and insurance and stuff. And so the net is what's left after all the crap falls through the net. So it's smaller.
Okay.
But that's what I learned.
That was,
And supply and demand, and that's my economics stuff. And I found people that I trust to do my financial stuff. Unfortunately, as we know, I have to bring information to those people.
yeah.
And if I don't fulfill that, I can't blame them,
Yeah. Right.
for not doing their job. Like, for instance, taxes and accountants.
Taxes. That's an interesting thing. You know what? Let's hold off on a little bit of a tax discussion. What I want to do, though, is I want to kind of go over some terms of cryptocurrency and NFTs to kind of tee
Yes.
up. And I know, you said you don't know a lot about the financial part of this. So I did have a chance to let you know what fiat money was. Did you know what that was?
Yes.
Yeah. Um,
I think I had heard of it before, but I had forgotten.
yeah. Once again, that's currency that's not backed by a physical commodity. Cryptocurrency, what is your definition of cryptocurrency?
Money that's not really there, but it has value.
A digital form of currency. It only exists
Right,
digitally.
right.
It doesn't exist physically. It relies upon a cryptographic sort of key to prevent counterfeiting and fraudulent transactions.
Yes.
Um,
Blockchain.
exactly. That's the next word, which is essentially a blockchain. Can you explain a blockchain?
To me, it's
Yeah.
a flow chart.
Okay.
And that's how I see it. It's like a flow chart of what's happening to your quote money or values.
Okay.
And it's something that people can check
Hmm.
so that you're not going to cheat the government or whoever else is involved.
Yeah.
It can be checked on.
Yeah.
But it's like a spreadsheet,
Yeah.
only to me just like one row
Okay.
of a spreadsheet
Because
that
it's
goes on and on and on.
yeah, because it's a chain.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
There are some things with the blockchain as far as the way it actually works coding wise, but in general, it's basically like I think of it as a ledger, like a general ledger that over the course of the
Hmm.
lifetime of whatever this thing is, you record what action or whatever things or transactions that occur. So it, like you said, it keeps on building out this ledger and making it longer and longer, hence chain.
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
Can you make a hard copy of it?
Can you make a hard copy of a what?
Blockchain.
Of a
Blockchain.
blockchain? No, you
Yeah.
can't make a copy of it. It is unique. Everyone is unique.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the okay. So
All right.
here's an interesting fact about cryptocurrency. Since every one of those things is unique, and it points whoever the owner is, right, has sort of a digital sort of signature.
Yeah.
They estimate that Bitcoin, I forget which news outlet, and this is an estimation anyway. You don't have solid figures, but they think that 20% of all cryptocurrency, as far as Bitcoin is concerned, is lost, meaning it had an owner and then digitally it lost that owner. That owner doesn't have it anymore, or it's just floating out there and no one owns it. So in that,
How could that happen?
well, that's the thing. You can't claim it because the blockchain says it still belongs to this person, but they don't know that they
Yeah.
own it. They don't know it's still out there. There's certain
Wow.
when you're trying to transfer, there's like let's say you're trying to transfer cryptocurrency from one denomination to another, one type of cryptocurrency to another.
Right. Okay.
Generally, when you do that, you can do it with a crypto wallet. And the crypto wallet is basically what keeps your keys and all your information on where this, the addresses,
Ah.
of where the things are located, the digital part of the asset, where it's located. If you transfer your currency of one denomination into an account that has a different denomination, it disappears. That's what it does. It just goes away.
Nobody should be transferring it if they know that.
Well, that's the thing. They shouldn't, but people do that accidentally.
Okay.
They transfer the someone who can
Okay.
only accept one kind of currency. You transfer your money to that person.
Oh.
It's in the wrong denomination. It just
Okay.
disappears. It
Okay.
has no owner. Now that's not the majority. I mean, of
Right.
what happens
Right.
with this cryptocurrency as far as it disappearing, but it's an interesting sort of, at least in the physical
Yeah.
currency sense, if it gets lost, someone has it, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Right. Right.
but as far as the digital, it's, if something gets messed up in the blockchain and you get removed as the owner and there is no owner to
Oh.
assign,
That's interesting.
that's my
That's interesting. See,
that's my understanding. of it.
So my dad was right.
Yeah. So,
He wanted that dollar bill in his hand.
yeah. There's also something that they call crypto mining.
Oh no.
It's a competitive process kind of that verifies and adds new transactions to the blockchain, but it's essentially what it comes down to is solving equations, mathematical equations, very difficult mathematical equations. It sounds at its base like it's a contest, but I mean I think it's
Yes.
done on a level that's in code. It's you have the hardware to do this, to unlock the puzzle, right? You have the cycles. It's
Yeah.
not like you have your whiteboard and you're writing out the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, that's,
Right.
that's what it sounds like to me when you say this is a competitive process of solving a mathematical equation to, obtain currency. That's what it sounds like. Just like a math quiz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is kind of
Sounds
confusing.
confusing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's right. Well, the whole thing is,
Yep.
with money especially,
Yeah.
but value.
Yeah, speaking of value, let's get into
Yeah.
the non-fungibles.
Yes.
The
Yes.
non-fungible token,
Yes.
which is a unique
Um,
digital identifier that cannot be copied, substituted, or subdivided, recorded on
Correct.
blockchain, and is used to certify authenticity and ownership of a specific asset
Yes.
or rights to it. Well, that
And
that is a misnomer because you don't have the rights. Copyright is something
yeah.
separate
Yeah.
in
I was
U.S. law.
reading something about that.
Yeah, in U.S. law, there's it's like I can put an image that is copywritten, but
Right.
what do you do? What does a company do? That the law hasn't been written quite yet about how to handle that kind of situation.
Right.
Um,
Right.
which is
Right. It hasn't. A new law to go into.
a lot of litigation may occur, but it's like it's all digital. There's how do you show your ownership? You can show them the code, or you can show them how do you do this.
And you might. One of the. Yeah, I did find the thing I read
Okay.
about in an article on NFTs,
Okay.
and it's worth noting. This is quote. It's worth noting that owning an NFT of anything is not a copyright on the content
Yep.
itself.
Exactly.
It's merely proof of ownership in the digital realm.
Correct.
So,
Yep.
hoping it will become more valuable.
Right. But that has and that has nothing to do with the copyright, right? Whether it
Right.
becomes
Correct.
valuable or
Correct.
not.
Right. Right.
There was and people I think are right now what they're doing with NFTs is they're trying to like they're experimenting with raising funds. You know what I mean? With NFTs, like making money with them. But the
Yeah.
process itself is very complex, and has many different storefronts.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's something. There's another thing that is sort of related to transactions and NFTs that is called gas fees, but it's only for Ethereum and the Ethereum blockchain.
Okay.
Okay.
Ether is money in the metaverse.
It's Ether cryptocurrency. Yeah, it's a cryptocurrency.
Cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Ethereum, I assume, has to do with that.
The Ethereum is the blockchain.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
if Ether is the cryptocurrency.
Okay.
And fees that are paid to the miners of the Ethereum's native Ether cryptocurrency. I know this is kind of like it's called there's what's called a gas fee. And the gas fee is what you pay to do basically solve that equation to get the to add that next block, right? So there is and all these companies, like, from what the problem is the amount of energy it takes, or actually not the amount of energy it takes, but the amount of how much energy costs wherever they're doing their computations. And so people, this is slowly starting to get into territory where a lot of people say the carbon footprint this and the carbon footprint that.
Yeah.
But like what exactly? It's a process that's using gas or fossil fuel powered computers, and that's the problem, is the fact that it takes a lot of cycles to process this stuff, to figure it out, and you're using electricity.
So they really are talking about a carbon footprint.
Yeah.
It's not some other.
No, it's actually literally, it's where, how much work it takes to do this and how much electricity is my guess.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Which is, part of the it's called a gas fee as far as Ethereum is concerned, but people can apply gas fees to other cryptocurrencies. They just call it, but that's basically where it originates. Is it's a model by which this currency is mined, i.e., you're solving those puzzles to do to add the next block. It's very, very, very complex.
Yes, it is.
So let's get into the less complex part of this whole thing.
You mean the part I thought we were going to talk about bored pandas or bored apes.
Oh, you mean
bored pandas? Thing. Bored apes and CryptoPunks and stuff like that.
We can
talk about those guys.
Yeah, if you want to talk about that, that's fine. Yeah, no, that's cool, because this is part of what we're talking about here. The part where you can actually, like if you want to create or post your NFT on a public marketplace, one of the largest out there is called OpenSea. And OpenSea was the first and largest NFT marketplace, founded in 2017, and it offers more than 2 million NFTs for sale on the Ethereum, Polygon, and Korea-based Clayton blockchains. So there are different types of blockchains, right?
Right. How much would you pay for a cartoon of an ape in leopard skin smoking a pipe?
Me personally?
Yeah.
No, nothing.
So why are people paying hundreds of thousands, millions
of dollars for this?
Things?
It's maybe part of it is the gambling nature of the stock market or gambling in general. They're expecting the value of this thing for whatever reason to go up, or the value of whatever it's attached to also go up. So, like if you purchase it in Ethereum or whatever, it's just basically you're buying the stuff to sell it back or because you like it. So like a painting, I would say,
Right. And some people buy it because it's like, oh, look what I have.
It's a status symbol.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I have this. And in fact, there was an article that was sent to us about restaurants, the particular restaurant.
Oh, yeah. The pizzas.
Yeah. About how they had a unique 500 different pizzas. Essentially what they were doing was raising money, I think.
8,888 unique pizza designs.
Yikes.
Supposedly, this guy was taking a dive because of the pandemic,
right?
And wasn't getting his business was going down,
right?
And so he just decided that he would start doing one of a kind, but he also does one of a kind physical and virtual.
Okay.
So from what I understand, you can go there. And in addition to having the token in your virtual whatever, you have the pizza, or it's a slice of pizza.
Okay.
And you can eat it.
Well, you can eat the pizza, but not the token.
Correct.
I guess you can eat it if you lose speaking of losing, like if you lose that. But what is the benefit to the person who purchases that? I mean, is it free pizza for life? Is it, and you get any extra thing, or what is it? Is it just?
No, I think it's just a slice of pizza and the token, the NFT.
Saying
it is a token and not the thing. Yeah.
Saying that I ate this pizza, or a slice.
I own this, and I own this token.
Right.
This piece of art.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking about art, and you know how it's hard for people to get into a new, like when new art comes.
Hmm.
So many people just don't want to have anything to do with it. They think it's stupid Dadaism,
Right.
surrealism,
Hmm.
well, pop art. I mean, there were so many classically trained art people,
Yeah.
and they just thought that that stuff would. Soup cans? Are you crazy? That'll never go anywhere. And maybe this is a new form of art
Well, I
that
mean,
we're just fighting against because it's so obscure. The thought is so.
I don't think it's a new form of art per se. What I think it is a new
Ah,
form of storage of said art. Entirely digital art that is
yeah,
one owner.
yeah.
Be that, or it doesn't have to necessarily be art. It can be a movie, it can be any kind of
Right.
media, it can be
Music.
anything. It can be music,
Right.
right? In fact, there are some people who have musical artists who've sold, like special tracks as an NFT
Right.
to certain people,
Right.
right? Other than, you have the piece of art that you can, whatever, say
Right.
that you own it. Um, Other than that, it's just basically a matter of you hold on to it until you want to want to sell it.
Until you want to sell it.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like any other physical piece of anything.
Right.
Um,
Right. And the one thing which you might be going into, if you sell a piece of art,
yeah.
say, for instance, if I sold this Paul Sierra that's on my wall,
Hmm.
I wanted to get rid of it and I sold it.
Right.
Um, I sold it to my friend Phil.
Hmm.
Paul wouldn't Paul wouldn't even know. Paul Sierra wouldn't even know.
Right.
It was sold, much less
Hmm.
get anything from it. And one of the things I'm taking from the NFTs is you get the artists get something from the secondary sales
Yeah. They
and
can.
the tertiary sales and
Hmm.
on and on.
They can set that. Yeah. It depends on the digital marketplace, but
Okay.
when you mint an NFT, part of the fees that you pay are associated with how complex this chain is. How you've When you mint an NFT, one of the things is you can establish how much, like a percentage that you take. The company takes a percentage of the sales, of course. The digital marketplace will take a percentage, and then you can specify how much you take as far as when it transfers. As far as OpenSea, it's up to 10% of whatever the sales are. But you just basically, when you sell
Hmm.
that, it just goes right into your digital wallet. So, you know what? Maybe
Okay.
maybe maybe now maybe I should just go over the general sort of cycle of what happens, because you mentioned it's like, well, the artist gets some of that, but that's set up in the blockchain
Right,
when
right.
you
It
do the
needs to be set
minting.
up.
Right.
Yes.
In some of these things, there are fees associated with setting up. I was going to, okay, so
Uh,
here's an idea that I had, just to kind of figure out the whole process, kind of like I did with podcasting. Dun, dun,
uh-huh. Uh-huh.
dun. But just to kind of figure out the whole process and how it was done, I was going to go through the process myself. But part of the problem is the fees involved can be upward of, and this is not just
Of course.
minting, it depends on the thing. What I was going to do is I was going to take a graphic I was going to design that was a very famous author, and he has a
Mhm.
T-shirt on that has a mushroom with a circle around it and a line through it. And that author, who I'm
Yeah.
caricaturing, is,
Am I
in,
supposed to guess?
yeah, guess.
I don't have a clue.
Well, anyway, the graphic is my non-fungible Tolkien,
Oh my
non-fungible Tolkien.
God.
So I was going to
Oh,
do that, either
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
or do a Ringo Starr as a goat, you know,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
do whatever. But I was going to do something and come up with a graphic. And then
Yes.
what you need to do is you sign up for OpenSea. You need to connect a digital wallet. There are physical digital wallets that you can get that's basically like a little piece of hardware
Okay.
to store all of your keys and all of your NFT information, but there's also digital. And I was going to just do Coin Wallet as one of the ones that is one of the main ones. But like
Uh-huh.
OpenSea
Uh-huh.
will use various kinds of wallets. So you have to connect your wallet, and there's a fee associated with connecting your wallet, which can be
Yeah.
somewhere in the
Yeah.
neighborhood of $70 to $300. So,
Geez.
it's just kind of like there are a whole bunch of fees in addition to the gas fees. And also, we're not even getting into taxes.
Right.
But
Right.
but anyway, so what happens is you get your digital wallet, right? Preferably the one that says "bad motherfucker" on it.
Uh-huh. Right.
Do you get the reference?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Um, so you get your digital wallet, you connect it to OpenSea or whatever marketplace you have. Then what you do
Yeah.
is you go through the process of minting, or you can do what's called lazy minting, which is basically you don't pay the fee until you sell it for the first time.
Ah, okay.
So you can do that, but I mean, there's still fees associated with that,
Yes.
because the reason why the lazy minting works is the actual process doesn't take place until the sale is concerned. So where the
Right.
blockchain, itself doesn't get
Right.
altered. But if you mint an NFT, that costs money, and that's generally, like in the case of Ethereum,
Hmm.
it's gas fees that you pay. But there's
Okay.
also
Okay.
a cut that OpenSea takes on every sale. There are other fees associated with that as far as transfers, like if you're transferring from one currency to another or doing something like that.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of
Right.
different fees associated with the whole process. At the end of the day, and we're not even talking about selling your NFT yet, you've already
Right.
put hundreds of dollars into that thing. Now,
Right. Right.
if you look at the OpenSea marketplace, you will see various people who have done their artwork, but it's like they've got collections. There's one
Yeah.
which is drunk girls, which is just a
Okay.
different caricature of a different drunk girl with a different hairstyle and a different drink in their
Right.
hand and a different thing. But there are thousands of those that are minted by this company, and
Yes.
whoever buys it and transfers it and buying and selling of this stuff, they set it up. You can set it up in a marketplace and put it out there for people to buy. But it's like each time it sells, you take a cut based on how you set it up. Honestly,
Yeah.
as far as me, I mean, there's no reason other than just to do it, just the process. But I mean, it's like
Right.
there is no other
Right.
point. Making it and maybe selling my one painting that I've ever done, hanging in the internet, the intermet, if you will,
Uh-huh.
the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
Yeah.
It's an interesting sort of thing. I just don't understand how it's what the popularity is right now.
Well, I don't either. And
It just seems like status. I mean, like owning.
status, and some people think they're going to make money, like works of art increase in value
Right.
as time goes on, or if somebody dies or something.
Yeah.
But to me, it's just too ethereal.
Yeah,
It's like I want
it's not
something
tangible.
tangent.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, tangible. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Um,
tangibility is not something you get with that. But maybe
no.
you get that tangibility, and if you go into the metaverse, I mean, maybe
Uh,
your NFT becomes a fancy sweater that you get to wear in the metaverse or whatever. But I mean, I think that's
True.
maybe that's where they're trying to
Yeah.
experiment with this kind of stuff. Maybe that's where it's going, is things that if you inhabit the metaverse at some point, you take your stuff with you.
But I think that's not for everybody. That's the
Oh, no,
thing.
no.
I mean,
No.
somewhere they talked about Gwyneth Paltrow and Justin Bieber and Reese Witherspoon and Kevin Hart and all these. They're the ones who are buying this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jimmy Fallon
But
was talking with,
yeah, right.
people, guests about the NFTs that they bought.
Yeah,
And
and
it's, yeah,
mm,
it's a luxury is what it is. And it's,
yes,
people are,
yes,
There's a sucker born every minute. I mean, I really don't.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the high class version of the pet rock. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah. Yeah.
know. I don't know. I kind of understand it. I understand collections, but
Right.
even with something like there is an NBA, a series of NBA NFTs based on built on a certain NFT marketplace.
Uh-huh.
Different currency, very specific, very closed environment. And you buy these like you buy packs of cards, like you buy packs of like baseball
Yes.
cards.
Yes. Yes.
Did you
Right.
ever collect anything like baseball cards or anything like that when you were
I
younger?
did not.
No.
Your father did.
Did he collect
He
baseball
had,
cards?
yes, he did.
Oh
He
wow.
had an enviable collection because it was from the mid 50s,
Oh wow.
early to mid 50s. I mean, there were a lot of heavy duty baseball players then, Mickey
Yeah.
Mantle and
Yeah.
all, and he had a good collection. When we moved,
It disappeared.
moving, yeah, things just,
What an
so yeah,
unfortunate.
I didn't, but I'm familiar with it.
Okay. Okay. You're keeping everything in pristine condition. Another
Right.
concern with NFTs is digital degradation. I mean, how
Oh,
long are they going to stay around, right? How long are these things going to be in digital form? If you copy and paste them over and over again, at some point, what's going to happen to
yeah,
these are all big questions that I think only time will tell,
right.
and what's going to happen with that. But this whole thing with the NBA, you buy a pack of quote unquote a fictitious pack of things, and then you store it in your collection, and you go to the marketplace and say, I've got a Michael
Right.
Jordan doing a slam dunk from the
Right.
3-point line or whatever. And, you put it up for a sale price, and then someone else will buy it
I
for,
want to see that. A slam dunk from the 3-point line.
uh,
Wait
you,
a minute.
you know,
Did he have a really long arm?
okay,
Wait a
so let me just say this.
I'm sorry, Ben. I'm sorry.
I was at a game with Dad
Oh,
where
yeah.
we saw one of the okay, so I forget who it was. I don't want to say maybe it was Judd Bushler or someone, but it was like they were playing a game and they were 30 points ahead, right? So it's in
Okay.
the third quarter. They've got their second stringers in there. They're just letting them play. And
Yeah.
at one point, one of the goofy white guys decides he's going to try and do a slam dunk from free throw line, which is what
Okay.
Michael Jordan
Okay.
used to always do. This is the slam dunk from the free throw line, and it was really like, well, that
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah.
So he actually did it, and then Michael Jordan goes, no, 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 and he's like, put me back in there. And I swear to God, I
Yeah.
swear, it seemed like he took off at least the top
Oh
of the
boy.
key. I mean, it was so much further. It felt.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you don't know what those things in your memory. It's like you kind of
Right.
build it up. But
Right.
the crowd went nuts when Michael Jordan just
Yeah.
like did
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
on top of the tall white guy doing his slam dunk, going, "Hey, look at me!" And Michael Jordan goes, "No,
Right. Right.
I'm not
Right.
having any of that." But anyway, so
So,
that's what I'm saying is it's a digital collection of things.
and it's true. How long is our digital stuff going to last?
Yeah,
Have you heard of LimeWire? It's
LimeWire.
from the early 2000s.
Okay.
It was a place where you could get music, and a lot of music piracy went on and stuff like
Oh,
that.
okay.
Um,
So that was also
and
like Napster. Napster was also another
yeah,
big one.
kind of. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. The only thing with this LimeWire, you didn't know for sure if you entered something in, you didn't know what you were going to get. Let's say they say "Lips of an Angel" by Hinder. If you entered that,
Hmm.
you might download that, or what might come is malware or hardcore porn,
Right. Right. Something
or so
else.
I've heard from my cousin in Canada, something like that.
Yeah.
But they're going, hey, let's do NFTs on this.
Oh
That they've got
boy.
kids that, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
strange. Also, Generation Z,
Hmm.
82% of Generation Z thinks NFTs are a scam.
Yeah, and honestly, they might be right. I mean, it
Yeah,
seems like it is all based on the stability of whatever the network is that's hosting these things.
right,
If you've got a marketplace that's a fair marketplace, then of course it could
right,
be, yeah. But that's the problem, right?
right, right,
Is
right,
it a
right.
fair marketplace? Are the companies held accountable for things that happen with these, with these
Yeah.
NFTs? And I don't
Um,
think that's the case right now because a lot of legislation hasn't been built out yet. The
yeah,
other
I
thing,
think it's something that just popped up
yeah,
and it's too new.
but it's too
So,
new amongst millennials as opposed to too new amongst the Gen Z.
yeah.
I don't want to disparage Gen Z, but I still don't understand. I mean, is TikTok? I don't get
Oh,
TikTok. I don't get a lot of things, but
right, right.
I mean, that's just kind of what happens. Before we wrap up with a quick game question
Yeah.
about NFTs, I mentioned briefly taxes. Now,
Mm,
here's the thing,
mm.
and I know how much you love taxes and know about
Yeah.
taxes. One of the tricky things that I've always had problems with, as far as, I have a basic knowledge of how to do my own taxes. I do a very easy, I do the easiest
Right,
form. I don't have a
right,
lot of
right.
assets, so it's really easy for me to do mine. Well, the NFT would kind of throw a wrench in that because everything you buy as far as cryptocurrency, there are a lot of tax specific rules. Once again, very new, so it's not written out yet,
Uh-huh.
but
Right.
anything cryptocurrency or NFT is treated as capital gains. So you have to hold on to that for more than a year, or else you're paying
Oh,
fees for your short term capital gains. And then there's also
yeah.
capital gains and losses, and the way those things are computed, like I said, very confusing
Yeah.
to me. But it's definitely no
Right.
guarantee. And I'm pretty sure that, with how it jumped during the pandemic, we'll see after this tax season concludes. But I have a suspicion that the government is going to be cracking down on a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
that stuff because I don't
Yes.
think people are claiming those as assets, crypto or
Correct.
otherwise.
I think I've even read some things about the government needs to get into
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
more.
That's the first time I've ever
Mm.
said that.
Yeah,
You know
right.
what this needs? You know what this complex problem needs? Government regulation.
Yeah,
That's what we
exactly.
need here.
Exactly.
But I mean,
God, we are getting
in
old.
one sense, I understand that it does need some sort of legislation, but that all is regional. China, from what I've heard, has banned all NFTs because they are doing their own. They're doing their own
Oh,
sort of
okay,
currency
sure,
and,
sure,
and
sure.
whatever. So it's a
Yeah,
local based sort of thing that they're doing their own digital currency. It's going to
right.
be different everywhere. And part of the reason why I guess they created this was to have a market that wasn't reliant upon governments, but that's just a ridiculous notion, I think. I mean, I
I think
think,
so. Yeah.
the
And
government's
there'll
always
be
going to get
loopholes.
involved.
Yeah.
If they can make some extra money on it or whatever, or
Hmm.
define it the way they need to, then. And I couldn't, in like going back to that example of me also trying to do minting my own NFT,
Right.
I was down for doing it, but with the
Right.
currency, it's like I've purchased the currency that isn't
Ah,
taxable. But as soon as I start paying fees, as soon as I start making
ah,
transactions, that's when I start having to
yeah.
record
Yeah.
capital gains. And it's not going to
Being
be a
responsible.
huge amount for me because I'm just doing one, but
Right.
I don't want to deal with that. I'll just draw
Right.
my non-fungible J.R.R. Tolkien and
Right.
then just
Right. Right.
put it on a graphic for the show maybe I'll do that.
Yeah.
I don't need to.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
I
I
don't
like
need
that.
digital ownership. But anyway,
Right. Right. Right.
um,
Yeah. And
so
who would, I mean, you can do all you want, but how do you know you have a market?
and what happens if that market collapses? I mean,
Yeah.
what
Yeah. Yeah.
happens if something God forbid some sort of a electromagnetic pulse
Yeah.
knocks out a significant portion of your
Yeah.
computers. I mean, that's what
Yeah,
happens
I'm
then?
familiar with that. Yeah.
I mean, that's a question too. I mean, with how
Yeah.
secure these networks are, there's always the
Right.
possibility you're going to lose this. It depends on where it's stored. If you store it locally on your own thing, well,
Right.
you could also
Right.
lose that too. I mean,
Even if it's stored somewhere up in the uh, digital ether land, I don't know. Um, uh, you know, places get hijacked.
right,
Electricity for all of New York.
right,
If they can do that, they can do other
yeah, yeah.
computer
I
crap.
think, yeah. And either the legitimate hackers are lying in wait for their big payday, possibly.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah.
just like once people get all involved and start collecting all the Beanie Babies,
Yes, yeah,
that's when crime starts going rampant.
that's true.
So there have been talks of the gaming industry getting into this sort of thing, and by gaming I mean video
Yeah,
games.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so what are your thoughts on digital collections in video games that are unique per person?
I don't know if it would be worth what you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I play games just to be in my little Zen land.
Right. I don't think I need to
And
represent my person in a very unique way in my digital
right,
world, right? In a game.
correct, correct.
I'm unique enough as it is, and so just me interacting.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
something I see what's happening. That I think I told you about loot boxes, loot crates. There's certain games
Yeah,
where Electronic Arts got into a lot of litigation issues and some other big name players
yeah.
because of parents and other countries. Australia is very strict about their gambling kind of laws. Um,
Okay.
they basically said that if
Yeah.
like anything having to do with odds, even like at a pack of cards, right?
Oh,
It is gambling according to their definition. And so
yeah.
a lot of lawsuits have been brought against Electronic Arts, but
Uh,
they've been dropped lately. It's like it's not a
yeah.
good look for them because people are thinking they're being cheated by this whole system. It's designed for them to just make lots of money. So it's like, well, loot boxes are bad because of that. But if that's the problem, I don't think, you're
Yeah.
a lot of the game companies are saying these are all cosmetic items. It's not a pay to win scenario. So anything that we have as
Right.
an NFT, but then what's the point? It has no value, right?
Right. Right.
You
I,
know,
I think we just have to wait and see what happens
it's
in
true. It's true. We just have to wait.
5 years, 10 years.
Maybe Electronic Arts has already said that they're not going to mess with it for
Okay.
obvious reasons because they had a lot of litigation involving, these loot boxes being
Um,
gambling.
Now I
Um,
do have. I think I got the article about LimeWire.
uh-huh.
I got from a PC magazine,
Okay.
and they also have a thing here that says GameStop is going to start selling NFTs later this year.
Okay.
And you were talking about GameStop and their
Yeah.
stock manipulation or
Right.
whatever.
If they're going to do that to stay afloat, I mean, I don't understand. It's like Blockbuster.
I
It's
know.
like it's the end of your era. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
GameStop,
yeah.
you either change
Right.
your business model now and become something different, or and that's
Yeah.
fine if they become an NFT marketplace. They've got to go all in on that and close all their GameStops and don't sell video games anymore. I just think that they're just throwing things at a wall and seeing what
Yeah.
sticks
Yeah.
at this
Right.
point. It's like
Right.
there were announcements before the pandemic that they were switching to like gaming cafes, and then the pandemic hit,
Oh, yeah.
and then they're
Right.
like,
Right.
well, that's not
Oops.
happening for at least another 3 years. So
Yeah.
I don't
And
know. Yeah,
things change.
yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, but I think you're absolutely right. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens. I mean, generally what I
Yeah.
think about it is I pay extra money for cosmetics in games but I don't
Yeah.
expect anything out of it. I don't want to,
Right.
it's like, it's not like I'm going to make money off of selling it.
Right.
Yeah. Although
Yeah.
there is a thing
Oh.
in one of the games that I play called Warframe, which you've heard me talk about a lot of times, where you buy this currency in the game, and this is the way it's always worked as long as I've played the game. But you collect parts, and parts for prime frames, which are only available either for purchase or you have to grind for them. So by grind for them, I mean,
Okay.
as you play the game, as you beat certain bosses, you get drops that sometimes include these designs that you build to build your frame. So you got like 3
Yeah.
parts and a plan for the frame. Well, what you can do is you can basically say, hey, if you're in a clan, you can say, hey, I want to sell this. I've got a Nix Prime, full frame, all the plans, all the parts. You just build it. I've got it. I'm selling it for X amount of platinum, which is the in-game currency. And so there is no market per se, but there are some things that are rarer than others, and some things that, if you want to buy it, if you want the frame, but the thing is, you get that frame out of it. You actually get something functional, right?
Yeah,
and so
I guess.
the currency changes hands. But I mean, you could also get the same thing by grinding for it, spending hours and hours and hours looking for the parts and building it and all this stuff. But I mean, there's a certain, like, an in-game market, and the only thing I don't think this is going to take off unless there's something they say, oh, we're only doing cosmetics. There's got to be some other value. There's got to be some in-game value to it in order for me to pay for it. If I don't get anything in game, I don't know why I would want it.
Like one of my games that I play, me and my match 3 games and stuff.
Right.
But I could purchase a cat suit.
Ooh.
It's so cute.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'd be going through my game in a cat suit.
Okay.
But it doesn't do anything.
No,
it costs me money.
Right.
Like American dollars.
Yeah. And part of the deception as far as those games are concerned is those are microtransactions. That's another thing altogether. Where it's like, oh, it's just $1. And then you pay $1.
Yes.
And then you go, oh, okay, this is just $1. And then you pay $1. That's another one of those insidious sort of things. I'm not going to lie. I've spent a couple bucks on things here and there, and it's like, I don't want to put that into QuickBooks or Quicken or whatever.
Yeah. I
anyway.
don't, I never give my charge card. Well, at the beginning, you can do, and I just don't, because I know I would just go, okay, click.
Yep, exactly. Well, on that note, you're gonna continue not using NFTs.
Yes.
And maybe not understanding them.
And also, the next time we talk, I want to talk about the metaverse.
Okay, we'll do that when you're here live. Maybe we can do that. The metaverse.
Yes. Yeah, metaverse and other strange stories.
It's almost like the Twilight Zone.
Yes.
It just sounds it just sounds
parallel.
So dark. But anyway, thank you, Nora, for going through this exploration of what fungible means. It's very confusing for me as well.
It is.
So,
and thanks for the economic lessons.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Never wanted it.
Against my will. If you need any other methods of torture, I can provide those next time you visit Tucson.
Yes.
So anyway,
yes.
Thank you very much for joining us, Nora.
Yes, and thank you for having me.
And to close the show, my name is Ben.
And I'm Nora.
And we've been your hosts. Have a wonderful night. Take care.
Goodbye.